Lonnie. And this is a hard story to watch because it raises a very difficult issue. How do we make sure our streets are safe without taking away the rights of those seniors who are still good drivers?
It's hard to watch without wanting to help. An elderly woman struggling and struggling to put gas into her car. Time and again, we see someone rushing over to help. But there's no one to help her when she gets behind the wheel to drive, and there's no one to help those of us on the street. We see it all the time. Drivers so slowed by age, they drive too slow or drive too fast. They drive too far over here or too far over there. They go the wrong way in parking lots, or they can't quite park at all, sometimes taking 4 or 5 tries, or sometimes almost taking out the poles in the parking garage. The elderly woman who drove this car and died apparently never even heard the sirens on the fire truck before it hit her. But it's not just themselves elderly drivers are putting at risk.
1, 2, 3. Ready,
14-year-old Edgar Garibay knows this firsthand. Doctors say it could be 6 months to a year before he walks again. Last month, he was pinned by the car of a 77-year-old woman. Investigators say she was pulling into a handicapped parking place, hit the gas instead of the brakes, and plowed right on into the store. Edgar, who saw her coming, says she never took her foot off the gas, even after the car had stopped.
I know that the tires were spinning. Smoke started to come out of the motor, and I just felt my legs were sleeping. Couldn't feel them no more. They were bending. I was telling her, please put her in reverse, do something. But the lady was, I don't know, she was so old that she couldn't react or nothing.
Her slow reaction time and the fact that a lot of older drivers start losing their hearing, their mobility, and their vision is forcing the rest of us to face a very difficult question. How old is too old to drive?
Studies show elderly drivers police themselves. They often avoid driving at night, during bad weather, and during rush hour. But for the amount of time they do spend on the road, they have more crashes. The statistics are easy to understand when you see this. An 87-year-old man who parks so close to a row of shopping carts, he can't get out. An elderly woman who parks so crooked, she pins us in. Or this 87-year-old woman who, instead of stopping at the stop sign, stops in the intersection.
Each one has to be handled case by case, because we can't just say that Uncle Fred can't drive anymore because he's already 75 years old.
That would be discrimination.
It would be discrimination.
The DMV doesn't allow anyone over the age of 70 to renew their licenses by mail. But licenses are good in California for 4 to 5 years, and a lot can happen in that time. Remember this driver, the one who drove on the line and stopped after the stop sign? She's already 87 and her license doesn't expire until the year 2003.
If we're not aware of the problem, we can't do anything to follow through on anything.
Instead, the DMV relies on other drivers, doctors, or police officers like Clark Baker to report older drivers who shouldn't be driving.
If our children are misbehaving in a car or having too many accidents, we take the license away because we care for them. And I don't think we should ask for less for our parents.
But take a look at this case.
How old am I? Oh, my God. I don't know myself.
At age 86, Mary has Alzheimer's.
Okay, now rinse out your hands, and you can dry them and the towels behind you. She can hardly care for herself at the present time, more or less go behind a motor vehicle.
And that's why her family went to the Department of Motor Vehicles asking the state to take away Mary's driver's license.
How long did it take from when you contacted them until they suspended it?
I would say about 4 to 6 weeks.
4 to 6 weeks.
It's just the time frame that we can't go around.
And sometimes taking away an older driver's license doesn't mean they'll stop driving. Remember this 84-year-old? Records show her license was revoked almost 4 years ago after she couldn't pass her driving test. But she's still driving.
Good morning. How are you?
Maybe the folks at this 55 Alive Mature Driving School can help us understand why.
D, only a
if you check both mirrors.
They tell us you take away their licenses, you might as well take away their lives.
And I pray every day that I don't get to that point.
Here they learn to compensate for challenges brought on by old age.
I have slowed down, yes.
Annie Tolson is about as careful as you can get. She says she has to compensate for her age, just like she compensates for a broken turn signal on her car.
I could just use my hand, but I figure that's more visible.
She says she knows she's not as good a driver as she once was. But it's not the Annies on the street we need to worry about. It's the drivers who don't realize they've changed and don't realize what they're capable of doing.
I'm not mad at that woman. I just want to tell her to stop driving.
A couple of notes. The woman who pinned Edgar still has her driver's license. The DMV won't tell us if she's being investigated to have it removed. As for the unlicensed elderly woman you saw getting gas and driving, we suggested she get around with help from her local senior center. They can provide vouchers for taxi rides and other information on dial-a-ride programs, along with bus and rail schedules.
Well, if the DMV is giving an 87-year-old lady